Okay, so my name's Jason Gould, brand ambassador for Naim Audio, and I'm really delighted and pleased to introduce the full range of hi-fi system. Back in January, we came out with the streaming preamplifier, the power amp and matching power supply. And actually, for a lot of the world, and certainly in the UK, people were wondering, is this the Naim system? Is this what Naim have to offer? And it was never going to be the case. We were desperate to get the rest of the range out. It's been designed and built in the background. To bring everything out in one go would have been nearly impossible. It was a real struggle to get the 3 boxes with a global market of around 600 retailers. But now, finally, we have our separate audiophile range. We have the NSS 333 separate streamer. This will replace the NDX ultimately. Naim's streaming source, NSS. We have the NAC 332 power preamplifier, Naim Audio Control, NAC. And we've actually gone back to a more traditional mono power amplifier design, like the 135 of old, called the NAP 350, so mono power amps. And we'll start here and we'll work our way back up to the top actually. The NAP 350 is now 175 watts per channel. It's actually the most powerful amplifier we make up before we get to statement. More powerful than a NAP 500. Fully regulated, of course. It has a 7-speed fan to regulate its heatsink, so you can drive it very hard for long periods of time. And as we all know, a lot of distortion that you listen to is heat around the circuit board, so the quicker we can remove that heat, the more efficient the amplifier works. Because they're now dual mono amplifiers, it means that we have a dedicated power supply per channel, whereas with the NAP 300, which this supersedes, has one power supply which drives both channels. So you should get much better clarity, drive and dynamics from this range of equipment. Fully balanced inputs, which will also receive single-ended signals, which is so important to us because what I'd like to stress about this range is that around about 85% of what you see here can be mixed with legacy hi-fi. So if you have a 252 Super Cap and a 300, you can remove the 300 and power this one from the range. It's perfectly okay to do so. We have cables to allow customers to do this. Something to remember. If we now look at the NAC 332, the NAC 332 is our very, very first high-end audiophile preamplifier with an internal power supply. We've never done it. You always had to have a high cap or a super cap. The reason we've done this is because forever, and myself and Mark, my colleague, we spend a lot of time in the UK and the globe training people how to connect Naim. It's so different to everybody else's hi-fi. And we've actually made a good living selling hi-fi with a complexity. We've actually removed some of that complexity so that you no longer have to route signal through power supplies and preamps. Instead, we come directly from the rear of the preamplifier directly to a power amp. The star grounding is now kept central using output regulators to keep the star ground close to the preamp hub. When you add a power supply, the star ground continuity is still kept intact. The preamplifier has 2 sets of balanced inputs, 3 sets of RCAs, 2 5-pin DINs and 1 8-pin DIN, which is very important for one of these products here, which is our new phono stage. We've borrowed that from the Solstice, so we had a special edition record player. The record player is no longer available, but the phono stage you can still buy separately. Can be powered off the back of this preamplifier, and there's also now a dedicated power supply, which was once the Solstice power supply. Can power the phono stage dedicated to a Naim system or anybody else's preamplifier. But back to the preamplifier itself, every single input can be reconfigured. So if you wanted RCA for your CD input or stream, it can be configured. That could also be a 5-pin DIN, it could be the 8-pin DIN, and of course the balanced inputs can be also configured to whichever input you want it to connect to. It has input trim, so by reassigning the inputs you can change the inputs to the particular input coming in, and then you can also input trim. So if you want your streamer to be the same volume as the record player, that can also be done on this preamplifier. Something we used to do on some of our more basic models 25, 30 years ago on things like the 5 Series can now be reintroduced.
Just a brief interruption, esteemed viewers. As you may know, I'm Tom Martin, Chief Content Officer of The Absolute Sound. We have a new product. It's on the Substack platform, and we're going to do some interesting things with Substack. First of which is reader questions and answers. Each Monday, readers will submit questions. We'll pick the most interesting ones and we'll answer the questions on Friday. We'll also have early access to articles and special blogs that don't appear anywhere else. We hope you'll join us. It's only a cost of a cup of coffee per month. Just check on the screen or in the show notes below. Thanks, and now back to the show.
I think one of the very special things about this preamplifier is the volume control. And the volume control is basically borrowed from the statement. And we first issued this out in the 222 streaming preamplifier. One of the slight drawbacks to that volume control is the space that we ran out of. So you've got a streaming system inside, a high quality analog preamp, and of course the volume control, which takes an awful lot of room up. So we had to use surface mount technology, something, if we can, we avoid for the bits you listen to. And as we all know, the sound has to go through the volume circuit. What we've done with this particular edition is use discrete components. And what we do at Naim, the legs that are found on these discrete components are bent into a spring-like fashion to decouple them from the PCB. The problem with surface mount, directly mounted to a PCB, is that when it gets hot and it moves and it creaks and you've got sound from your loudspeakers bombarding the product itself, this gets transmitted through the audio circuit. The volume control sounds much, much better again, probably 3 times better than what you're experiencing with the 222 streaming preamp itself. Moving on to the NSS 333. One of the great benefits of this product is that we have native DACing. So we use 2 fixed clocks, one at 44.1 and one at 48 kilohertz. So the incoming signal is perfectly synchronized to the DAC inside the product. That means it reduces jitter to an incredibly low point. That gives you much better streaming, much more authentic music quality. Outputs from the NSS 333, we have, of course, RCA, we have DIN, and we have balanced XLR. And again, all of these products can be interwoven into existing name systems. So, for example, if you did have a 252 and a supercap, you could remove those 2 components and replace it with just the 1332. What we would urge people to do, and we will do through marketing and training, is to add separate power supplies. The piece I'd like to talk about now, we've got 2 in the system. This is called the MPX300. The MPX300 has 8 DR regulators inside. It's a fantastic upgrade to existing NDX2s, but an even bigger upgrade to the streamer and the preamp. So gone are the days where we had a supercap for a preamp and an XPS or a 555 for the source. We can actually just use one power supply and keep everything universal. This is great for training our retailers, people understanding how to progress their hi-fi. So what you've actually got here is a streamer, an MPX300, the NAC 332 and MPX 300, separately, independently powered supply. They can only do one product at a time, and 4 NAP 350s. And it's not an active system. It looks like the good old-fashioned 4-pack system we used to do of old, but in actual fact we've got it in a biamped mode, so quad amplifiers effectively. I think we've probably covered most of the base of those products. Any questions about the new range?
Does the Sonos supersede any existing models?
Currently it's going to run parallel with the Superline.
Okay.
So I think Superline is the go-to if you have a 552. The Superline has decoupled brass chassis. So you could probably argue it's still the finest phono stage we make. The modern equivalent is this product here. Yeah. It's moving magnet and moving coil. The moving coil is selectable, so you've got resistive and capacitive loading to fine tune your cartridge like you would do with a Superline. Yeah. 1983. So, late 50, we sat around boardroom tables thinking, what should we do as an anniversary product? Should we bring out a streamer? Should it look like one of the new products? And very quickly we said, no, we should bring it out as a classic chrome bumper, not an olive finish, not a bolt case, but an amplifier which many people still have in their systems. They actually have actually kept in a box in a loft because they can't bear to part with the thing. It has some modern tapes. So for example, these slots on the back, they reduce eddy currents between the positive and negative. So I don't know if any of you know that if you push a voltage through an aperture, you create an eddy current and it puts a brake on a signal. If we put this small divide in between the metalwork, it stops that break happening, so the voltage can only go so far, halfway effectively, not create a complete voltage loop. 2 DIN inputs, auxiliary and stream, and of course a very, very high quality moving magnet phono stage. I'm going to hand this around and it must come back to me at the end.